video, I'm going to show you how to make a perfect circle with using just a piece of plywood and a circular saw.
We're the White family. We live in rural Alaska, and for us, it's DIY all day, every day. So I'm a big believer in families sitting down at the table for meal times. Even though our living room is a good distance from the kitchen, my family will literally take their food and walk right past the dining room table and go eat on the couch, even if the TV is off. So I'm thinking, why? Why are they doing that? And is it comfort? Is it, what is the reason behind that? So I thought we would try something that we've never done before. So when we first moved into our new house, we needed a table right away, and I was pregnant at the time, and we just had lots of stuff going on. So I came up with a $50 beginner farmhouse table that I built in just a couple of hours, and it has served us very, very well. But we knew at some point we wanted to upgrade to something a little bit nicer, and that day is today. So this table, I'm going to build a pedestal base, and basically I'll make a center pedestal, and then I'll attach 4 little side legs to that, and then we'll put a circular top on it.
I've built round tabletops before, and they can be kind of a pain. Brainstormed and kind of hacked some ideas, and we're going to go about it a little bit different. So we'll see how this tabletop comes out and maybe make it a little easier on builds. So the first thing I did was cut these boards at a 22.5 degree angle. These are 1x6s. Then the next thing I did is I went ahead and pocket holed all of these up. I pocket hold too many.
You only need to pocket hole every other one.
Yo.
It's alright.
I overachieved myself. I guess I was not thinking about it at the same time when I was over pocket holing. I got way carried away. It'll still work. We'll go ahead and attach these together, and then this will build a big octagon, an 8-sided thing that's going to be this tabletop we're shooting for 60 inches wide. So we'll get this together. This will be our underplate. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying this thing out, start screwing together, see how it goes. So this is just a frame. Obviously it's 3/4 inch thick, but double this up with the tabletop, and then it'll look like we have an 1.5 inch tabletop. So I went ahead and I laid my boards out here, and the way that they're going to go be pocket holed together. But now I'm going to take this octagon, which is going to be our table for the top, and we'll put it on here, and we'll figure out exactly where we need pocket holes. You can see I've already drawn this line around here, and then I've added places where that I could put the pocket holes, and then knowingly that we need to come in here and take out a bunch of this material to make our circle table. I had to hold the pocket holes back so you didn't hit anything with the saw that we're going to use, and then also with the pattern right here, we'll be able to come in here and I'll know that I can put a pocket hole right here, here, and here that's inside the frame. But when we go ahead and make the round tabletop, we won't have to worry about hitting any screws. And then I labeled the boards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then also on the octagon, I made a mark here, 1 and 1, and then 2 and 2 over there. So when we go put this back together, everything is going to line up just perfect when we go ahead and start routing it out. Yeah, so a little bit of planning makes life a lot easier in the end. Alright, so I'm going to just start getting on pocket holing this thing all together. So if you're serious about building this table, watch the video all the way through, and at the end there's a bunch of tips. Got all my pocket holes drilled, so I'm going to start attaching this all together. we've got the tabletop together, and we're gonna go ahead and glue our octagon to the table, and I'll show you in a second how the jig works. Seems like a lot of glue, but we'll be all right. Now let's throw this thing on there. We're gonna put them in close so that they can't get hit. So let's kind of alternate here and make sure everything looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take this tabletop and cut a circle out of it. So this jig set up, we found dead center of the table right here, and I built this jig up, and I left this screw loose. This screw just sits in here like this, so it can't come unscrewed. And then we want to take this tight, but not too tight, so you can get it to where it's flush. You see I had to add this board in here to get it to the same level as this, but let's just take it off one, and then it should spin, right? The thing I'm going to do is get rid of some of this excess because we know that our line's here. That gives me a little less material to deal with, so I'm just going to rough get rid of it. Now I'm going to start making a giant mess. Okay, so you just basically want to keep turning a little bit at a time. I made 2 trips around, and as you can see, you know, I've got all the fine points. A lot of it is looking more and more like a circle. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach the saw to the actual jig, and then we're going to run around here and finish doing it. It's going to look like a perfect circle. So I went ahead and put a couple of holes in my fence, put some screws in here. Now it's tied to my jig. Now I can just fire this thing up and go around in a circle, and hopefully it will take off all the edges, and then we'll have a perfect circle. Got our perfect circle. Made a giant mess of wood scraps, but it's done. Let's take it off and flip it over and see what it looks like. Let's turn it over and see how we did. This is going to be a big table. Hayes has already claimed this as his card table. Look at that.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
See that?
Really pretty.
And so now, we're just going to have to go ahead and sand these all out because we've got some glue in here. And our Craig jig obviously looks really nice. We had some lumber that we didn't have to use a joiner on. It was actually a nice square cut lumber. But this table is going to look really nice, all stained up. Put some poly on it, food grade something, and it's going to be a nice dinner table. So now I got to start working on the base. These are the legs, but as you can see, there's lots of cuts and a lot of repetition. So I got this nice tool set up in my shop here with the chop saw. Makes life easy. You move it to whatever you need. About 28.5. So got all the boards cut, and now I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the base of the table. There's going to be 4 of these that need to be made up, and make sure I got this one right. The 16.5, yeah, the 19.5. So we're good to go there. And you can pocket hole this thing together, but I've chosen just to go ahead and use some screws. I don't think it's all that necessary to get too carried away with it. Screws that I'm using are really basically an all-purpose width screw, but they're nice. They're torque head, and they also have this little cutter here, so you don't need to self-drill these, which is really nice. You know, if you've ever used a screw that isn't like this and you start using it on this end, and they'll split the end, and that's the reason for it. So, got this piece put on here. Now, it should just kind of fit in here where it needs to. Plans give real specific measurements, but as you can see, it kind of fits in here really nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and screw it all together. Alright, so we got that piece put in here, which is kind of the brace, but decorative almost. Talk to my wife about that. And then, so we got this piece which goes on here, which will be on the 16 side. That's the right side, but it's got to go up like this. And this looks pretty easy. We'll knock this in. So I got all 4 done. And one tip that I would say when building these bases, because they're all identical, is once you get the first one built, go ahead and use it as a jig so that all the other 3 that you build are all the same. But I'm going to make the pedestal base, which is going to support all 4 of the legs. Alright, got that thing done. Doesn't look like much, but should be like that, right?
Yep.
And we'll just lay it on its top and we'll go ahead and add the rest of them. So all the legs are put on the base. It's pretty stout. I mean, that's kind of what you want in a table, a heavy base, and then a top that's somewhat lighter than that. So it's time to pick a stain color. My wife's having a really tough time. Obviously, you don't want to put the wrong stain on this tabletop because it looks so nice, but the beauty of it, you got to pick something, go with it. This tabletop only took me about 2 hours to build and probably about $50 in board. So, you know, we're going to pick something. Hopefully it looks good. We're going to go with it. But this table's really, really pretty. Let's see how this goes. Ready?
So Jacob just got done staining the tabletop and it looks amazing. And I wish I could also stain the base, but it's a different wood species, so it's going to take the stain a little bit differently. So instead of trying to fight that and adjust for it, I think I'm just going to paint it white. So I'm just going to brush it on. And this is a paint and primer in one, so I don't have to prime it. I'll probably do 2 coats though.
I have a bunch down there.
We need one.
I'm not. You like him.
I like it against the floor.
Alright, so I went ahead and drilled some holes here, and I got some, these are actually Craig jig screws, but they're the only ones I have, and you can see a reinforced bottom with some plywood. So we got an 1.5 inches to go through, 1.5 inches. These are 2.5 inch screws, so they shouldn't go through the top. That's really close right there.
Is that good? So I'm thinking what we'll do, it's only and you can see, this can be up to a 6 top. So what I'm thinking, if we have company come over, we'll have the kids eat at the island and then the adults eat at the table. So that way we'll be able to instantly expand our seating. So the table's looking really good, but I don't want to yet commit to changing out the light fixture till I see how the family's doing. So the family really likes the circle table. We'll get a smaller, lower profile light. I love this light, but my big issue with it is it blocks the view. So when I get a new light, I'll probably get something a little bit higher and a little bit lower profile so we can see the mountains from the kitchen better. So it looks like the table's a big success. It comfortably seats 6, and I think we could actually get away with 8. So it actually is a really compact, good solution for a small space. I am really pleased. We'll see how it works and get the plans posted. So if you like it, you can build it yourself. If you do like this video, please give us a thumbs up, because that's how you let us know we're doing the right thing and we're going in the right direction. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Monday. So somebody might be asking why we're doing the 1x top and then the 1x trim underneath it. And the big reason is it's really hard to find good 2x boards. And then what happens is the 2x board is really strong. So if it starts walking on you or cupping or bowing, it can actually lift up your base and then you'll get a wobbly table. So my rule of thumb is you want your table base to be stronger and heavier than your tabletop. So I have a preference for using 1x's on the tabletop. But since there is no apron, because it's a round table, just having that little thin 3/4 inch top would have looked kind of silly and unbalanced and wouldn't have been real strong. So we're going to add this little frame around the bottom to strengthen it up.
Think about a circle, it's nothing more than just a bunch of straight lines all in a row, and to make that perfect circle. So when you go ahead and cut it out with your circular saw, it's no different than that. You're just cutting a bunch all the way around, and then you're finishing it up with the circular saw, and then you get a perfect circle. You can also do this on a table saw. I have done this, but you know, we wanted to show that you don't need a table saw to achieve building a round tabletop, so we did it with a circular saw. I think that it's actually a lot easier to do with a circular saw than a table saw, because you know, a table saw, you have to have a really big table to work, where circular saw, you build your jig, set it on some sawhorses, and away you go.
So if you're making this jig up, a couple of tips that I want to give you is you want to make it so that the bigger part of your saw's foot is resting on this, and you don't want the smaller part, because then it's harder to keep your saw stable.
Yeah, because you want to keep it flat.
So I guess what I'm saying is you want it to be this way instead of this way. So you have more of your foot on the jig, okay? And then you want to have this pinhole exactly centered from here to here. So if it's like off here, that's not gonna work. You want it exactly centered.
Yeah, and the other thing that I did was screw, when you put the screw in there, make sure that you actually drill this out with a drill bit, and that way your screw doesn't come undone when you're going around the table, or tighten. that makes sense? So it actually spins freely on that screw, but it's attached to the center.
Okay, so and then another thing is we ended up using 1/4-inch plywood on top because as your saw is passing through, you want your motor to pass. And so we found the 1/4-inch plywood really worked well there. And then this is about 16 inches wide.
Yeah, I think it's 16.
And that was perfect, right?
Yeah, it seemed to work fairly well. I mean, there's nothing, you could do skinnier, you could do wider, it doesn't matter, but it's basically just a jig. And then,
so one other tip that we have is after we got done cutting the circle, it looked actually really good, but we wanted it to be just perfect. So what we did was we took this piece of 1/4-inch plywood and we removed it and we just brought it in just a hair.
you can see it. From where the existing line was, I probably moved it a 1/16 of an inch. And what that did was that allowed the saw to go ahead and cut another 1/16 of an inch on the outside of the table, and so you were able to just run around there, and it made the table so precise. You know,
It's perfect.
It was
But
really
there's
nice.
one thing we did find is you don't want to start with your saw blade all the way as deep as it can go. So what we actually did 3 passes. We started with the saw blade, maybe down 1/2 inch, and then we did another 1/2 inch, and then the final pass we did all the way so that your saw isn't going to bind, and that worked really well.
Yeah, it worked really well. Then once you get there, then your blade will also flex a little bit. Obviously, we could have a better blade when we did it, but you see the flex in the blade. So if you're cutting and you're binding this blade, it's going to be at an angle like that. So that's why you're able to, when you go around the table a few times, it keeps cutting and cutting and cutting, and then it gets that perfect circle. And then from there, you should be good.
So this is after we did this. I agree with Jacob. I think it was easier to do it this method than to build a jig for the table saw. That was a lot harder, and I felt like we had more control, and we could build a 8-foot round table pretty easily using this same.
I mean, you could go as big as you want. I mean, it would be something pretty simple to do. With just a matter of having a jig and your skill saw, anybody can do it.
Yeah, so this, I definitely liked it a lot, and then not doing the 2x, it made the tabletop really light and easy to manage, and I feel like it's going to hold up better. It's not going to warp and move as much as if we've used 2x.
Yeah.
So,
And then another tip you probably see in the video, but we went with the 1x top, but we also put on plywood on the bottom. As you can see, so I just put that on there for a stiffener because it is 1x, and obviously, the outsides are 2 1x's laminated together, but now the center has some plywood, has some backing, so I don't think it can actually cup and warp. I think it's going to stay pretty good.
So yeah, so we hope these tips can help you guys achieve really nice circular tables. You can do it.